Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring some Hero Arts products. I am using, we'll get into all the differences here in a minute, but I am using the clear stamp and frame cuts of the month. That's these little cuties right here. And then this is the fancy die. I thought I was going to use it, and I'll probably end up using it for another card because it's really great. But then this is one of the add-ons. This is the Garden Gate cover plate. And we are going to make a Gatefold card. So I am starting with a regular piece of cardstock, 8.5 by 11. I'm going to cut it in half so that I have a, math is hard, y'all. So it's 5.5 by what I ended up cutting it was 4 3/4. And then I'm going to score it at the 4 1/4 mark. Then for this piece, I am going to, this is just a half sheet. So it's a 5.5 by 8.5. And that one I'm scoring at 4 1/4. These combined are going to make our Gatefold card. So on this one that we've scored at 4 1/4, on the right hand side, I am going to line up my Garden Gate cover plate and I am going to run that through. So this is going to cut out all that beautiful detail work of the Garden Gate fancy die, but it's not going to cut completely through. So our gate is still attached to our card base. While I have that out, I am also going to cut it through some silver. I think this is the matte foil from Concord 9th. I'm going to cut that one as well so that my gate will be a shiny metallic. And then for those two pieces, we're going to set them aside and then work on our background. The background is going to be that piece that is 5.5 by 4 3/4. So here I'm just kind of showing you how they line up. It's a little bit tricky when you've already die cut it to get it to fold exactly on the score line. So just take your time. I like to do mine lightly with my fingers first to make sure when I fold it over, everything is lined up how I want it. And then I will go in and reinforce it with my bone folder once I have everything is straight and they're all lined up with each other and I know it's going to close how I want it to. You can put anything behind this gate, a whole different scene if you'd like. But I am going to use those clear stamps in order to create a fun little scene. One thing to note here, sometimes it is helpful if you trim off. I'm only going to trim off just like a 1/8 of an inch of this piece of the background just to make sure that when it folds over, it's not bubbling up and it lays flat. So that's something you can try with or without. I've done it both ways. So now, again, I'm just double checking and we're going to do a little bit of tracing just so we can get our center. So I'm laying that insert in and then I'm tracing around the arch with my pencil. And then this way it's going to show me where I can do my stamping for the pavement. There are some things I would have done differently. I will share those with you. You guys know I try to be as transparent as possible. In the meantime, for the kicking off of our stamping, I am stamping this cute little bird bath and these two little pigeons. They also have like a little mailbox and some envelopes, a little bird that's in flight, like a little, carrier pigeon that's holding an envelope. Very, very cute little set. But since I wanted to have like a little garden scene that you could see through my gate, I chose to just keep it pretty simple. So I'm stamping these down in the intense black ink from Hero Arts. This is safe for alcohol markers. And then this is that insert that we've already scored and then traced the arch. This is going to show me where exactly I need to stamp the kind of like the pavement, which is also included in the stamp set. So I am going to stamp that down. This is one of the things that if I had to do it all over again, I would have moved it up. I would have moved the pavement up and had less grass. And that's just because I would have liked a larger transition area in between kind of my cobblestones and my pavement. And you'll see what I'm talking about here as we get going with the coloring. For the little cobblestones, that's part of the die. So I just laid that over top and then traced them with my pen. I am going in and freehanding that same traced area with a Copic Safe marker. And it didn't need to be perfect. If I wanted it to be perfect, I could have traced it out there, but I didn't need it to be perfect. I just wanted it to give the same kind of illusion of the same stone so that when you were looking at it and it was closed, you would be able to see those through the gate. Now you can see what I'm talking about here. My cobblestones are kind of right on top of my pavement. I wish I had given myself a little bit of a larger area to transition. But at the end of the day, it's okay. I am going to use some pixie tape to mask the right-hand side of the scored line just to keep that nice and white because it will wrap around the back of our card. And then I am also going to use that same pixie tape to do some masking so I can create a sky, a grass area, the little pavement, and then the cobblestones. So in order to do that, I'm going to be doing some ink blending. I'm using Summer Sky and Deep Ocean. I like the extra large brush for this. It's just a nice big fluffy brush that makes it really easy to get a soft sky if you're trying to leave any illusion of clouds, which I do like to do in my scenes. So I'm going to go in with that Summer Sky first, then I'll go back in with that Deep Ocean, more kind of like on the edges, so that it was like like a bright blue sky, and then I'll go back in with that extra large brush and the Summer Sky to just kind of blend it out a little bit more. You could make the whole thing blue if you wanted. I just think that adding a little bit of cloud makes it a little bit more interesting. So once I have that done, I'm going to remove my tape that was masking off my grass area, and now I am going to mask off my sky. I'm going to get another piece. This is a piece of Eclipse masking tape that I just had laying around. You can see I've used it for another card. But since it was there and it already had a straight edge, I went ahead and used it. For my grass, I am using Kiwi and Fresh Lawn. I am keeping the ink blending a little bit lighter towards the back, a little bit darker towards the front. And that's because I know I'm going to be adding some detailed kind of grasses to help my scene kind of come alive. We're going to go through and mask each layer so that we have different colors: the sky, the grasses, the pavement, and then the cobblestones. So let's talk about what is different, right? For years, we've had My Monthly Hero releases, and then they switched it up and they had the classic kit and the premium kit. And now they're doing it a little bit different again. So I think it's great, honestly. I think it's a great change. You guys know that I'm a cheap chicken, that I'm pretty frugal. So I love having different price points, especially if you're a person who, when you get your kits, you're like, okay, I don't like X, but I do like Y. This just gives you an opportunity to kind of tailor it a little bit more to you. So they still have a card kit of the month, which is the most similar to the My Monthly Hero kits they've been releasing previously. Comes with tons of stuff. It is a $46 with subscription. This is obviously in US dollars, but the worth of it is almost $100. So it's definitely worth it if you will use all of the things in the kit. If you're like, I only like X, or I only like B, or I only like F, they have some other ones now too, and the price points reflect that. So they have the clear, set, and frame cuts of the month. That's what you see me using here. You do get a discount if you sign up for the subscription. The subscription also means that you're guaranteed to get it, but they do have them where you can just buy them outright. However, once those are gone, they're gone. So if you want to be sure that you know you're going to get it, subscription is the way to go. If you're like, I'm willing to risk it, then you can just buy them as you see them if you like them. So I'm using that one, and I'm also using, if you remember, they always had add-ons. That is still true. The Garden Gate cover plate is what would be classified as an add-on, and these will be additions to the store that will be available and will be restocked. So there's that. The other ones that they have available now are the Cling Stamp of the Month, Fancy Dies of the Month, and a Layering Stencil of the Month. And all of those have a discount if you subscribe and a guarantee if you're subscribed. The price goes up just a little bit if you're just buying it kind of off the shelf periodically. But I love that they're giving everybody options for whatever's going to work with their budget or with their craft style. So that's what's going on with that. All of these things will be linked below. There's also a blog hop going on, as is, usual when they are, bringing their kits out. So I will link that below. There is a giveaway. Of course, we love a giveaway. So Hero Art is generously giving away a $50 gift card, and it's drawn from the comments left across the blog hop, not the YouTube. Don't leave the comment here. You won't be entered to win. Well, I mean, you can. I would still love to hear from you. But in order to be entered to win, you want to do it on the blog. And you can enter through Sunday, June 9th. So that is all the housekeeping things. Let's talk about what we're doing. So in order to help my cobblestones kind of pop up a little bit, I did color them with some warm grays. I wanted them to be differentiated from the pavement, which I'm doing with cool grays. And then I also did some darker browns, added shadows underneath them to help them kind of pop up. For the pavement itself, I am following along the lines that are there from the stamp, but I'm also extending them out so it kind of goes across the entirety of the card. It will be, because the lines are drawn closer together at the back, like that bird's eye perspective, it's going to be darker back there and lighter as it gets to the top. Now, as I said previously, these two are right on top of each other, and it looks fine when the gate is closed, but when you open the gate, I do wish there was a little bit more transition room in between them. But I think on the whole, it doesn't look terrible, and consequently, you're seeing it. Because if I was not super happy with it, I would have tried again, honestly. So blending those out with my C's. For the grasses, I wanted it to kind of look like it was like a longer field or a park. So I only wanted to do a little bit of detail work kind of right up front. But even then, I didn't want it to be crazy. Which will be story time for another time. This weekend I was in Nashville and I was teaching at the Nashville Craft Retreat. And one of the things we did in class was grasses. And so the longer your flick is, the longer your grass looks. So if you want your grass to look a little bit more manicured, then your flick should be much shorter. If you want your grasses to look like it's an abandoned home and nobody's been there in 20 years, then you want to flick them real long. Or let's say, you're doing a scene like it's out in a jungle, then absolutely you would want longer grasses. But so I started with my darkest one. All of mine are pretty short. My YG67 and my YG17 definitely short. I'm getting a little bit longer with the YG03, and then the YG01 just kind of goes over everything, even though we're still doing that same flicking, and that's going to help blend it and kind of knock it back so it doesn't look so super detailed. I love this bird bath. I think this bird bath is so cute. It's such a good size for a focal point. I decided I was going to color mine like a white or a silver to kind of match that pavement. And so I'm using those same cool grays. It is drawn where it has like these little indents as part of the decor. So if it's indented, it's definitely going to be darker. The other areas that are kind of like stacked on top of each other, I left kind of a white highlight on top of there to help create that separation and give it more dimension. For the water inside, remember your water is clear. The water, like when we see it as blue, is because it's reflecting the color of the sky. So whatever colors you do in your scene of your sky, that should be the colors that you're coloring the water in your bird bath. So I went with the brighter B00, B02, that kind of family, because it matches that summer sky really nicely. Pigeons. These little pigeons are so cute. But I was like, I roughly have an idea on how to color pigeons, but I did end up Googling them just to kind of get the color. And because they're birds, you know, their feathers can be all different colors, but from afar, they almost all look like a little bit of like white or gray and kind of like a navy blue. So that is how I chose to color them. Their heads are darker than their bodies, and their stripes, you could have done one like white and one darker, but I chose to do them both darker since so much of the body was already colored white. But these are fun and you could play around with them, you know, to do whatever. You could even use like the stippling technique we've talked about before to really get lots of different colors in there and give them more texture. But since I already have quite a bit going on in my like scene behind, and it's a gatefold card and I have metallic cardstock, I just kept the coloring pretty simple. For the feet and the feed, I just did a YR24. Here are, I've already snipped apart my coordinating dies, so I'm going to go ahead and cut these out, and I'm going to do that before I stamp my sentiment so that I could use them as placement for where my sentiment needs to go. There's kind of some fun ones in there. I went with just a nice simple hello there. Here I'm laying the metallic on top just so I can make sure that my bird bath is centered. And then I have not glued anything down yet. They're all just laying there as placeholders so that I can get my sentiment in the right spot. Hero Arts Pitch Black is my go-to for stamping sentiments. I use it all. I mean, that's like if I'm reaching for one to stamp sentiments. Now, that one you can't use with alcohol markers, but it is a nice bold black and it stamps great every time. So here I am going to adhere these down flat. You could maybe pop them up some, but I just didn't want to run into any issues with my gatefold having like it not being able to lay flat in its envelope. Because remember, the whole idea behind my card is that I want you to be able to see the scene through the gate as if you were opening up this little garden gate and here's these cute little pigeons and their little bird bath. So once I get those glued down, I'm also going to glue down that metallic. If you got the card kit of the month, they actually have in there, I think it is a silver, I think it's like a silverish glitter paper that would work as well. I just happen to have the silver foil cardstock, so I used that. But this is just going to line up perfectly because it's the same exact die. And then we're going to get to the building. So now that we're done coloring all these things, we're going to fold over that piece that's our little connector piece and reinforce it with our bone folder. I used liquid glue. Make sure you give it enough time to dry before you start trying to fold it over. I didn't, and you'll see as soon as I fold it, it kind of pops off. Alternatively, you could definitely use some like score tape, some red line tape, rip, you know, any kind of the rip and tear tape. That would work really well also. So I'm going to fold it over, make sure everything fits, reinforce it again with my bone folder, and then that will be the whole card. Now you guys know me, and I got to add my details because I can't just leave well enough alone. And so I don't love the white outline on a die, so I'm going to go in and blend it into my scene. This is pretty simple to do. You're just looking for colors that match the color that you have in the background. Sometimes you might have a little bit of trouble, like where you need to kind of go over one and then go over it with another to get an exact match. But for the most part, it's really simple. And then the background was looking a little plain Jane. So I decided that I was going to go in. This is a YG17, so it's my darker mid-tone of my grasses. So we're not bringing any new colors. We're bringing in the same colors, you know, to help it look cohesive. And then I'm just doing some very general kind of shrub shapes in the background, which I think gives it just a little bit more life. I'm going to add some shimmer to my bird bath, to my water, and to my pigeons. And then some white highlights as well to the water, to the bird bath, to the pigeons, and then even to some of the little cobblestones down below. These are just little extra things that you can do to kind of bring it to life. I definitely could have added some gemstones around the sentiment, but again, I didn't want it to mess with my gatefold. So this is how the card looks in its finality. I think it's really cute. I think it's a cute set, and I do think the clear stamp and frame cuts will probably be my go-to going forward for the kits, but I hope that you will head over and check them out and maybe find something that you love that fits into your budget as well. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.